Uh, Today, I'll be talking about how to write a descriptive essay, what a descriptive essay is. Many of the O-level students, in their as a part of their curriculum, they're told to study descriptive essay, and the purpose is to explain descriptive essay in a simpler manner so everybody can understand it and is able to write a very good descriptive essay. So descriptive essay is, of course, as we can tell from its name, it's something that is described. And the person shows his ability to explain or describe something in such a manner that when a person reads it, he gets a feeling that he can literally witness what is being described. And this is what a good writer does. He will describe something in such a manner that in the mind of the reader, everything will be clear like a daylight. A person can describe a number of things. A person can describe a person, place, an event, an animal, occupation, or behavior. When describing a person, we can describe a couple of things about a person. We can describe how a person looks, for example. We can describe how a person acts. We can talk about his behavior. We can talk about how person's mood is, how his moods vary, and so forth. And we can talk about other qualities of a person, whether they're good qualities, praiseworthy qualities, or other qualities which are not as praiseworthy. So this is one of the things that we can describe when talking about a person. We can talk about a place. When we are talking about a place, we can talk about its beauty. We can talk about how exactly that place looks. We can talk about its climate and so forth. So even if a person hasn't visited that place, he knows exactly just by reading a description of that place, that how that place, that particular place looks. It can be an event. If I'm about to describe to an audience how a particular event went, I can explain it in a number of ways. I can describe it with details that even if a person who never attended that particular event, just by listening or just by reading a description of what happened at the event or exactly how the event was, they'll have a very vivid picture of what the event was about. It can be a vacation, it can be a wedding, it can be a graduation ceremony, farewell, or anything else. I may be describing an animal, or a doctor, may be describing an animal, how that animal looks, what's his breed, how that animal behaves, whether the animal is violent or not, and so forth. So we can talk about an animal. We can talk about an occupation. People in the world have a number of occupations. There are occupations that we've heard about. There are other occupations that we have never heard about. If somebody is describing to us an occupation that we've never heard about, they should do it in such a manner, they should write it in such a manner that even if we have never heard about that occupation, just by reading that description, we shouldn't have any problem understanding what that occupation is about. So if we have to describe it to somebody else, we are able to do so just by reading about it, reading the description. And this is what a good writer does. Behavior, if a psychologist or a law enforcement agency is trying to describe somebody's behavior, they can do it in a manner by highlighting certain qualities of a person that when the reader reads about it, it becomes clear to him what's going on, and so forth. There are multiple ways to make a descriptive essay very vivid. A good writer will touch on the five senses or aspects of the five senses when describing something. They may talk about a taste. They may talk about touch, smell, hearing, and sight, these five senses. And from this, we should understand that for example, if we have never, like we were talking about a place, if we have never visited a place, but somebody else has, and they're talking about, for example, how that particular place smells, how that particular place looks, the more of the senses that they will ponder upon, or more of the senses that they will touch upon and describe it to us, the more we will understand exactly how that particular place is. A descriptive essay has a purpose, you know. Nobody should write a descriptive essay without a purpose. Writing just for the sake of writing should not be the aim. It may be a lesson that a person gets from experiencing something. It may be, we may be describing an object, you know, or a person who changed our lives forever. So everything that we write, every descriptive essay that we write, we should remember that at the end, there is a purpose behind it. There's an aim behind it. Let's talk about the structure of a descriptive essay. Descriptive essay, like any other essay, will start off with an introduction. An introduction will have a hook sentence. Now, what does a hook do? It catches, you know. So when a person okay, let's talk about the entire structure first, and then we'll talk about the introduction. So a good descriptive essay, of course, will have an introduction, it will have body paragraphs, and it will have a conclusion. So now let's talk about introduction. When you are introducing your topic, you know, you should do so in such a manner that the person who is reading it, you captivate their attention. And the way to do so is by writing a hook sentence. Hook sentence is a sentence that will grab the reader's attention from the very beginning, okay? So a person should practice or learn multiple ways to grab a reader's attention. This is an art in itself that a person should work on and have a very good hook sentence which is related to the topic that they're writing about. If they grab or captivate a reader's attention from the very beginning, and every sentence has some kind of a connection to the next sentence, and every sentence that a person reads makes him want to read the next sentence, it means that we are doing a good job. Introduction, this is what the introduction is about. This is what makes an introduction a good introduction. And every introduction has a thesis statement, which is a sentence or two to identify the main points of that essay. Usually, or almost always, you can say, a thesis statement is going to be the last line of the introduction. So if a person has a good hook sentence, every sentence is leading to the next sentence, and the last sentence of the introduction is a very good thesis statement, which narrows down the aim of the essay and touches on the main points of identifies the main points of the essay. This is a sign that the essay is going to be a good essay with an extremely good introduction. Right after the introduction, there will be body paragraphs. Now, each one of those body paragraphs will talk about, will have the supporting details for those points that were mentioned in the thesis statement. It will have the details. They will be described in a manner which will make it fun for the reader to read it. Body paragraphs, how many body paragraphs should there be altogether? Of course, it depends on what the requirement is. If we are given a task of restricting ourselves to a certain number of words, we can only write so many body paragraphs. If it's a long research paper, of course, you know, we can have as many body paragraphs as needed. Usually, a short or medium-sized essay, which is not extremely long, can have up to 3 to 5 paragraphs, 5 body paragraphs that will give supporting details for everything, for the main points that were mentioned in the thesis statement and introduction. Right after our body paragraphs, there will be a conclusion. And conclusion basically sums up our essay. It restates the main points that were mentioned in the thesis statement and were further explained with the supporting details in the body paragraphs. A good introduction should leave a reader to think about something. Another way of another sign of a good conclusion, or another way to make our conclusion really interesting, is to conclude it with a quote from a person who is somewhat or very well known. That will make it a good conclusion, and it's done often by many good writers, you know. So leaving a reader with something to think about, ending it with a quote is a good way to conclude a sentence. And once again, conclusion is something which leaves a reader with a final point, sums up the essay, and leaves him with something to think about. There are a couple of other things that can make a descriptive essay really interesting. So let's talk about one of those ways. And one of those ways is to use some literary devices. And I will only touch on 3 literary devices that we can use in our essay, which will really make it fun to read, you know. And the first one is a simile, which is a figure of speech, you know, which compares something, which compares one thing with another thing, but that comparison of one thing with another thing, the other thing is of a different kind, you know. So it's a comparison of 2 things which are different from each other. Let me give you an example. I'm talking about a person who's extremely brave, and I will say the person is as brave as a lion, you know. So I'm talking about a human, and I'm comparing comparing him to someone that's different, which is a lion. So this is an example of a simile. The water well was as dry as a bone, you know. So water well, I'm talking about, and I'm comparing it to something which is different, which is a bone. You know, when the person reads similes like this, of course, it raises his attention, and it makes an essay fun to read, you know. Metaphor is another literary device that maybe it's good to know, you know, and it's a figure of speech which makes an implied or hidden comparison, you know. So let's talk about this example. The snow is a white blanket. So this is a comparison, you know. This is a comparison which is different from simile, you know. It is a comparison which is implied, which is hidden, you know. A person may be talking about something and giving it a comparison, like snow is, for example, not a blanket, you know. But when you are talking about, when you're trying to describe a snow, you know, you're resembling it to a blanket, like it's a white blanket. He is a shining star. You're talking about a person who's extremely, extremely bright. So, or it's a person is a guide for others to follow, you know, because of qualities that a particular person has, you know. So you may say that he is a shining star, you know, and you're implying, because, you know, this is what a metaphor does. It implies something. You're implying that that person is a really good person and maybe a guide for others to follow. Another kind of literary device is oxymoron, which is another figure of speech which joins 2 opposite ideas. So let me talk to you about it for a little bit. You are taking 2 words which may be, or 2 ideas which are totally opposite to each other, okay? Deafening silence, you know, is another. When it's extremely silent, you may say that, you know, he responded to my question with a deafening silence. And other examples of oxymoron. There are multiple categories of literary devices that a reader may read about and may utilize those examples to make their essay more interesting. I would recommend everybody to do so. So my recommendation to everybody is to go ahead and write a descriptive essay. Write a 300 to 500 words essay and describe a time when something unexpected happened in your life, and see how you do. Let somebody check it for you, somebody who knows what a descriptive essay is, what a good essay is, and let them help you with it, okay? Thanks a lot. Allah Hafiz.